Potable water. Potable water is the water that is safe to drink. Potable water is different from pure water. Potable water is not pure water because it has some dissolved substances. These substances could be salts, and also there is a possibility of having some microbes. For the water to be safe to drink, it must have minimum amount of both salts and microbes, because too much salts can sometimes be harmful to human, and microbes of course will cause illnesses. The way to produce potable water will depend on the source of water. So different countries have different sources of water that can be made potable. That depend on the country itself. So it can either be fresh water or it can come from salt water if fresh water is not available. Normally, changing fresh water and producing potable water from fresh water is easier and would lose much less energy. However, changing salt water or producing potable water from salt water would require a lot of energy, and this is called desalination, which is removal of the salt. The process of producing potable water from fresh water starts by using sand filters, and fresh water, which have insoluble particles and microbes, will pass through these sand filters. Now, as it passes through the sand filters, it will filter out all insoluble particles, and only the water which has a soluble particle will come through. So they will then pass through a sterilization tank where they can be sterilized or use a disinfectant to remove all the infectious microbes or harmful microbes, either through the use of chlorine, ozone, or UV radiation. And that will give you the potable water from fresh water. Salt water. To produce potable water from salt water, you need to do desalination. And desalination can be done by one of two ways. The first way is the distillation. Distillation is used in the same way as we've learned what is distillation before, but it will be on a large scale where you use large quantities of salt water. So in distillation, you heat the water to the boiling point of water, which is the salt water, of course, and then the water itself will start to evaporate, and then you have to pass through the steam through condensation unit where it had to be cooled down, and so it would be condensed and collected and then can be used as potable water. The distillation has several problems. The first one is the need for a lot of energy to heat that large quantity of water. The second thing is also related to energy, because you also need energy to cool down the steam or to cool down the steam that comes out, or the vapors, in order to condense it into water. And the third issue here is the amount of waste water that is produced. It's too salty and could be very difficult to get rid of and could be harmful to the ecosystem. And then we have the second method, which is the reverse osmosis. In reverse osmosis, water which has the salt or the salt water is then subjected to high pressure. High pressure is applied, and the water is allowed to pass through semi-permeable membranes. And these semi-permeable membranes, they have very small pores where only water molecules were allowed to pass, but not the soluble particles and the salts and all of that. So you end up having the fresh water on the other side. The problem with that is the use of expensive membranes. So these membranes that are used are quite expensive, and also a lot of wastewater is produced, and it's very difficult to get rid of.